They all walked away from this ship auction. I bought it cheap and found something that shouldn't. Captain Ryland leaned back in his chair, watching the massive auction hall through the wide observation window. The hall was buzzing with chatter, the clink of coins, and the quiet hum of anti-gravity platforms moving ships into place. Starships of every kind floated on their designated platforms, sleek fighters, cargo haulers, research vessels, and even a few luxury yachts designed for interstellar billionaires. Yet among all the shining, polished ships, one vessel stood out, not because it was flashy or advanced, but because it was ignored. The ship floated at the far end of the hall, suspended by weak anti-gravity beams that wavered slightly under its weight. Its hull was scratched, rusted, and pitted in several places. Panels hung loose, and a faint, almost eerie hum came from somewhere deep inside it. Unlike the other ships, no buyers crowded around. No curious engineers tapped on the hull. No eager traders whispered about its history. Everyone seemed to avoid it as if it carried a silent warning. Ryland smirked. Perfect, he muttered to himself. He was a human, and humans had a knack for seeing value where others saw danger or decay. In a galaxy filled with alien species who relied heavily on technology and reputation, humans thrived on intuition, imagination, and problem-solving. Ryland had always believed that a truly valuable ship was one that others had given up on. He adjusted the strap of his tool belt and walked toward the ship. As he moved, other bidders passed him by, glancing briefly at the vessel and shaking their heads. Rumors swirled in their quiet conversations. That ship is cursed. It's haunted. They say the last owner disappeared inside it. Ryland ignored the warnings. He could hear the subtle hum of the ship's engine core, or whatever remained of it. It was faint but steady like a heartbeat. When he reached the ship, he ran his hand along the cold, dented metal. The surface was rough, but he could feel something beneath it, a design that was deliberate, careful, even beautiful. The hull wasn't just metal. It was built to last, built to endure, built for something beyond ordinary use. He crouched to examine one of the broken panels near the cockpit. The wires inside were twisted, some scorched, but the layout was intelligent. Whoever built this vessel had a mind that combined engineering with artistry. Humans appreciated craftsmanship, and Ryland had an eye for it. "You're going home with me," he whispered softly. The ship seemed to respond, the hum growing slightly louder, almost as if acknowledging his words. The auction began. Ships went up one by one. The hall erupted with excitement as wealthy bidders shouted numbers, their bids rising into the millions of credits. Ryland watched, calm and patient. He didn't have the luxury of millions, but he had something that money couldn't buy: experience, knowledge, and the courage to see opportunity where others saw ruin. When the auctioneer finally reached the abandoned ship, the room fell quiet. The other bidders glanced at it nervously, some laughing, some muttering, all moving on when their curiosity faded. Only Ryland remained. The auctioneer, a tall, silver-scaled alien with 3 eyes and a voice like gravel, adjusted his goggles. "Next item," he announced. "A derelict vessel of unknown origin. No known crew. Systems partially offline. Buy at your own risk." A few bidders chuckled. One walked away shaking its head. Another whispered to their companion, "There's nothing here, not even worth a credit." Ryland raised his hand. 10,000 credits, he said confidently. A few heads turned. 10,000 was ridiculously low for any ship in the hall. A luxury cargo vessel would usually sell for 100 times that. The auctioneer raised an eyebrow, but there was no competing bid. No one wanted this ship. "Sold," the auctioneer said after a pause. "To the human." Ryland smiled as he handed over the credits. Everyone murmured, some whispering about foolishness or luck, but Ryland didn't care. Luck had nothing to do with it. He had a plan. He led the ship out of the auction hall using the minimal docking authority he had. Other ships hovered effortlessly as anti-gravity beams carried them to new owners, but Ryland had to navigate carefully. The ship responded sluggishly, almost reluctantly, as if it had been abandoned for so long that it forgot how to move. He guided it into the empty hangar bay attached to a small freighter. Once docked, he began the first inspections. The interior was dark, dust covering most surfaces, with strange shadows stretching along the narrow corridors. The smell was a mix of burnt circuits and ozone, sharp but not unbearable. Rylan flicked on his portable lights and began exploring. The cockpit was a tangle of wires and broken screens, yet when he touched the main console, a soft glow ran across the panel. He jumped back, startled. "What the?" he whispered. The screen displayed a simple pattern of lights, pulsing gently. They weren't random. They seemed to follow his hand, almost like a heartbeat, matching his own. Ryland's pulse quickened with excitement. No one else could read this. No one else could understand the subtle language of engineering, of design, of intelligence hidden beneath decay. "This isn't just a ship," he said softly. "It's alive, in a way." He spent hours examining the ship. Hallways were larger than expected, rooms placed in unusual arrangements. Some compartments were locked with mechanisms he had never seen, combining logic, intuition, and something almost organic. The ship wasn't ordinary. It was designed for someone capable, someone who could understand it, someone like him. By the time night fell, the hangar bay was quiet. Rylan had set up temporary lights, tools scattered around, and a small portable food unit simmering with a simple stew. He ate slowly, eyes constantly drifting toward the ship. The hum had grown stronger, almost like a lullaby, and Rylan felt a strange connection forming. He decided to spend the night aboard. Sleeping in the cockpit, he lay on the narrow bunk and watched the lights on the console pulse gently. His mind wandered, imagining the adventures this ship could take him on if he could unlock its secrets. Somewhere deep in the ship, a faint vibration passed through the metal floor. It was subtle but unmistakable, like a ship taking a deep breath after years of silence. Rylan felt a thrill he hadn't felt in years, the same thrill that made humans explorers, inventors, and pioneers. He drifted to sleep, a calm determination settling over him. The galaxy had ignored this ship. Others had laughed, whispered, and walked away. But humans didn't give up. They saw possibility where others saw ruin. And Captain Rylan, human through and through, had already begun the first steps of an adventure that no alien or machine could predict. When the morning light spilled across the hangar, he awoke to find the hum slightly louder, almost as if the ship was greeting him. A panel near the center of the cockpit slid open slowly, revealing a small glowing device resting inside. Rylan's eyes widened. He had no idea what it was, but instinct told him it was important. He reached out and touched it. The lights on the panel pulsed rapidly in response, and a strange warmth ran through his fingers. A sense of understanding, faint and fleeting, washed over him. This ship, it wasn't just metal and wires. It had memory, intelligence, and maybe even a kind of awareness. Rylan grinned. "Looks like we're going to get along," he said. And for the first time in a long while, he felt that unmistakable spark of possibility, the kind that only humans, with their curiosity and determination, could ignite. The adventure had begun. The ship waited, and Captain Rylan was ready. The morning light filtered through the hangar, bouncing off the scratched metal walls and casting long shadows across the abandoned ship. Captain Rylan was already awake, eyes wide with anticipation. The small glowing device he had found the night before rested on the cockpit console, pulsing softly, almost like it was breathing. Rylan carefully picked it up, examining it from every angle. It was smooth and warm, shaped like a small orb, with a light that seemed to shift slightly depending on how he turned it. There were no buttons, no ports, nothing he could see that would indicate how it worked. Yet when he held it in his hand, a strange understanding seeped into him, faint but undeniable. "Okay," he said, speaking aloud as if the ship could hear him, which he now thought it might. "Let's see what you want me to do." The first task was obvious. Begin repairs. Rylan moved quickly, his years of experience guiding him. He started in the cockpit, reconnecting wires, cleaning dust from sensors, and patching the most obvious breaks. As he worked, he noticed that some panels and circuits reacted to his touch, When he adjusted a wire just so, a screen flickered to life. When he pressed on a sensor, a soft chime echoed through the hull. It was as if the ship was guiding him. Ryland smiled. Humans thrived on curiosity and problem-solving, and he felt those traits more alive than ever. The ship was complex, unlike anything he had encountered, but he wasn't afraid. Fear wasn't part of the human way. Curiosity and patience were. He adjusted components, tested systems, and slowly, the cockpit became functional. When he stepped back, the main console lit up fully. Holographic panels hovered in the air, displaying readings he barely recognized. He leaned closer. The ship's energy core was damaged but stable. Some systems were offline, and others behaved unpredictably. Yet the fact that the core was still running meant the ship wasn't just a heap of scrap. It was alive, waiting for someone to awaken it.
Ryland moved into the hallways. The interior was larger than he expected, almost impossibly so.
Some rooms were empty and simple, others filled with strange technology that seemed to defy known physics. Panels floated in midair when he approached, lights tracing patterns that were hard to describe. He traced his fingers over them, careful not to break anything, and the lights pulsed brighter in response. Hours passed, but Ryland hardly noticed. For humans, work could be enjoyment when it combined intellect and creativity, and this ship offered a challenge unlike any he had faced before. Then, in a hidden compartment beneath the central hallway, he found it, a small chamber almost perfectly concealed. Inside rested another orb, larger than the one in the cockpit. It glowed with a soft golden light, and as Ryland approached, the air seemed to hum around him. He reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the surface, a wave of information hit him. Not words, not sounds, but images and feelings, fleeting and abstract. He felt the ship's memories, or at least part of them, flowing into him. He saw distant stars, systems long gone, strange energy flows that bent reality slightly. He understood the ship's design, its purpose, and its care for whoever would eventually pilot it. Ryland staggered back, eyes wide. You're alive," he whispered. The ship, or whatever this consciousness was, responded with a soft vibration through the floor, almost like a nod. It wasn't just alive, it was intelligent. It could think, feel, and perhaps even judge. And somehow, it had chosen him, or at least allowed him to awaken it. He spent the rest of the morning exploring the ship's systems. Every repair he made seemed to unlock another layer of interaction. Lights would pulse along the corridors when he entered. Doors would open as if anticipating his steps, and panels would reconfigure themselves for optimal function. The ship was adapting to him, just as he was adapting to it. Ryland tested the propulsion systems next. The engines were dormant but intact. He calibrated a few minor settings, carefully adjusting energy flows. The ship responded instantly, humming louder, a subtle vibration coursing through the hull. He could feel its power beneath his feet, immense and restrained, like a wild animal under careful guidance. "Not bad," he said with a grin. Not bad at all. By mid-afternoon, Ryland had ventured into parts of the ship that even he didn't fully understand. One chamber contained a strange console with symbols that shifted like liquid when he touched them. Another held a transparent tube filled with a glowing substance that pulsed rhythmically. The ship seemed to be alive not just mechanically, but biologically in some way he couldn't fully comprehend. And then came the test. Ryland approached the orb in the hidden chamber again. This time, he held it with both hands, focusing intently. The lights around him pulsed, the walls seemed to breathe, and he felt a deep connection to the ship. Images flashed in his mind. Faraway galaxies, energy flows bending like rivers, systems collapsing and reforming. He realized that the ship could sense him, understand his intentions, and even teach him if he allowed it. For the first time, Ryland felt more than curiosity. He felt responsibility. The ship was powerful beyond imagination, and it could not fall into the wrong hands. Whoever had built it had intended it for someone capable, and now it seemed that person was him. He returned to the cockpit, orb in hand. He began to map the ship's systems, recording data, sketching layouts, and making careful notes about energy distribution, propulsion, and navigation. As he worked, he realized something remarkable. The ship responded differently, depending on how he approached problems. It wasn't just following commands. It was evaluating him, testing his creativity, judgment, and patience. Humans were naturally adaptable, and Rylan understood that. The ship wasn't just a machine, it was a partner, and his ingenuity, intuition, and persistence allowed him to communicate with it in a way no alien could. Even as he repaired panels and circuits, he noticed external sensors flickering with movement. Through the hull's partially restored viewport, he saw the hangar bay door open slightly. Curious maintenance drones from the auction company had come to inspect the ship, likely wondering why a human had taken interest in what everyone else had abandoned. Rylan smiled. This was perfect. The drones would leave quickly if they didn't find anything remarkable. But if they were persistent, he had ways to hide the ship's true potential until he was ready to reveal it. Humans were clever after all, and ingenuity often outweighed raw technology. As evening approached, Rylan finished reconnecting the final circuits he had planned for the day. The ship's hum was steady, almost content. The corridors glowed softly, guiding him through the rooms as if the ship wanted him to explore further. He realized that this vessel had not only survived centuries of neglect, but had been waiting for someone like him. He placed the orb back in its hidden chamber. The glow dimmed slightly, but he felt the same pulse of awareness, as if the ship recognized him now as its pilot. He could sense a connection forming, deeper than he had ever experienced with any machine. Rylan stretched, feeling tired but exhilarated. For a human, the greatest joy often came from discovery, and this ship offered discoveries beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. He ate a simple meal from his portable food unit, eyes constantly drifting toward the glowing corridors in the cockpit, already imagining the possibilities. Before he slept that night, he walked the length of the ship, touching walls, consoles, and panels. Each interaction brought subtle responses. Lights pulsed in rhythm, doors shifted slightly, and the hum adjusted in tone. It was communicating in a way only he could understand, a dialogue of intuition and action. Lying in the cockpit, Rylan thought about the journey ahead. He had unlocked the first layer of this ship's secrets, but there was so much more. Hidden compartments, advanced propulsion systems, and unknown energy sources waited to be discovered. He felt excitement building, the same excitement that had driven humans to explore unknown planets, invent miraculous devices, and chart the stars, long before aliens had perfected their technology. And somewhere deep inside the ship, Rylan sensed the pulse of intelligence growing stronger, like a living heartbeat. He realized that the adventure he had begun was not just about repairing his ship. It was about partnership. The ship had chosen him, and in return, he would guide it into a universe that had ignored its brilliance for centuries. That night, sleep came easy. For the first time in a long while, Rylan felt completely at home, inside a ship that was more than metal, more than circuits, more than memory. It was alive, aware, and waiting for the day when human ingenuity would unlock its true potential. And Rylan, human through and through, was ready. The day began with a strange stillness. The hangar was quiet, the other ships long gone, and the massive derelict vessel hung gently beneath Rylan's feet. Captain Rylan stretched, feeling the thrill of anticipation coursing through him. Today, he wasn't just repairing the ship. Today, he would see what it could really do. He started in the cockpit. Every console now responded smoothly to his touch, lights shifting to guide him automatically. The orb he had discovered pulsed softly, as if cheering him on. Rylan leaned forward, tapping commands and testing minor systems, gravity controls, life support, and the navigation interface. All responded instantly. Some functions were advanced beyond anything he had seen, intuitive, almost alive, but they required careful manipulation. "That's it," he murmured. "Let's see what you've got." He eased the ship out of the hangar. Unlike normal ships, this one moved silently, the anti-gravity thrusters gliding with a smooth, almost liquid motion. As he maneuvered, he realized that the ship wasn't just following his commands. It seemed to anticipate them. He nudged it gently toward a series of test maneuvers, banking and twisting in ways that would have made lesser pilots queasy. Yet the ship responded flawlessly, adjusting its trajectory mid-air without hesitation. Rylan grinned. Humans had a natural advantage: intuition. While machines or aliens might rely solely on logic, humans could feel the flow of motion, anticipate outcomes, and improvise. And the ship responded to that. He activated the propulsion system next. Energy rippled through the ship, glowing lines tracing the hull. When he pushed the engines toward full capacity, the ship pulsed like a living thing, then smoothly accelerated. The hangar walls blurred as it glided forward, faster than any conventional craft should have been capable of moving. A warning tone sounded. Rylan's pulse quickened, but he didn't panic. Humans were good at solving unexpected problems. He analyzed a warning. It was an energy flow imbalance, and adjusted the core stabilizers with a few quick recalibrations. The tone stopped. The ship responded immediately, energy smoothing into steady pulses. "This is incredible," he whispered. The ship seemed to respond to his excitement with a soft vibration beneath his feet. By midday, he had left the hangar and was soaring above the planet's surface. The ship's sensors displayed a three-dimensional map of the nearby star system, far more detailed than anything he had ever seen. Planets, moons, asteroids, and even small gravitational anomalies were visible in perfect clarity. Rylan tested the ship's agility next, flying between narrow asteroid fields. The vessel twisted and turned like a ribbon in space, each movement precise, each response instantaneous. He felt the ship learning from him as much as he learned from it. It wasn't just a machine. It was a partner, sharing its capabilities while waiting for him to grow into them. Hours passed, and the tests became more daring. Rylan pushed the ship's speed, banking it around planetary rings, skimming close to the surface of moons. Each time the ship adapted. He discovered that its shields could bend light around them, rendering the vessel almost invisible to standard sensors. Its engines could manipulate gravitational fields, allowing sudden bursts of acceleration that defied ordinary physics. But as he tested these limits, a sense of caution settled over him. The ship's power was immense, but it was also delicate. Misuse could damage it, or worse, alert those who might try to claim it. And the galaxy was full of factions that would pay fortunes to control a ship like this. Rylan's instincts proved correct. Later that day, while reviewing navigation data, he noticed small sensor readings, tiny traces of external scanning devices. Someone had followed him. Perhaps auction officials, curious traders, or rival pilots. Whoever it was, they had no idea what they were chasing. Rylan smiled wryly. Humans were clever, and ingenuity often outweighed raw technology. He activated the ship's cloaking protocols. The exterior panels shimmered, bending light and energy to conceal the vessel. The pursuing drone scanned the area but found nothing. They hovered briefly, then departed, none the wiser. "That's why humans survive," he muttered. "We improvise." With the immediate threat gone, he decided to explore deeper functions of the ship. The hidden compartments he had discovered previously contained more than just mysterious orbs. He found consoles that displayed star charts of uncharted systems, coordinates to locations long forgotten, and energy maps that suggested unknown phenomena in distant regions. One console responded particularly to his touch. When he interacted with it, a holographic map unfolded, showing a distant system marked with a symbol resembling a protective shield. Rylan felt a surge of curiosity. The ship seemed to be pointing him toward this system, hinting at something important. "This isn't just a ship," he realized aloud. "You've got a purpose." Over the next several hours, Rylan ran simulations. He guided the ship through complex maneuvers, tested its energy shields, and experimented with its gravitational manipulation. Each time the vessel responded intuitively, correcting errors before they became problems, adapting to his style of command. The ship was alive in ways he had never imagined, but it respected him. It trusted him. By evening, he took a break and floated in the cockpit, looking at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, full of mystery and danger. And yet, He felt an unmatched confidence. Humans thrived in uncertainty. Where others saw risk, they saw opportunity. And here he was, paired with a ship that could defy the impossible, guided by nothing more than human intuition and determination. As he pondered the future, the sensors detected another presence, a small group of ships entering the system. Unlike the maintenance drones earlier, these were sleek and purposeful, likely mercenaries or rival scavengers. They had likely heard whispers of the abandoned vessel and were curious, or greedy. Rylan didn't panic. Instead, he relied on what humans did best: creativity. He guided the ship toward a dense asteroid field, weaving between rocks with precision. The pursuers followed, but the derelict ship handled the maneuvering effortlessly. Its shields adjusted in real time, deflecting minor debris, and its engines used gravity manipulation to pull it smoothly between obstacles. By the time they cleared the field, the pursuers were lost. They scanned desperately but could not detect the ship. Rylan allowed himself a small smile. Humans had survived countless challenges with ingenuity, and this ship was simply an extension of that principle. With the threat gone, he returned to the system's map, focusing on the coordinates the ship had highlighted earlier. It seemed almost alive with anticipation, guiding him toward uncharted space. The more he interacted with it, the more he understood. The ship had been waiting for someone capable, someone who could think creatively, solve problems intuitively, and act with courage. In short, it had been waiting for a human. Rylan felt a surge of pride. The galaxy often underestimated humans, viewing them as fragile or reckless. Yet here he was, piloting a vessel that could outperform the most advanced alien technology, navigating dangers that others could not even imagine. Human curiosity, intuition, and courage had brought him this far, and would carry him further. As night fell over the planet below, Rylan docked the ship in a hidden cave near the coast. The vessel hummed softly, its lights pulsing gently in the dim hangar. He wandered through its corridors, touching panels and consoles, feeling the subtle vibrations of the ship's awareness. He realized something profound. This was no ordinary adventure. This was a partnership. He had awakened the ship, repaired it, and now it was revealing itself to him, layer by layer. Together they were capable of feats the galaxy had never seen, feats no alien or machine alone could accomplish. For a human, this was thrilling. Humans were problem solvers, creators, explorers. They thrived on discovery, on pushing limits, on turning the impossible into the ordinary. And here, in a derelict ship abandoned by all others, Rylan was doing exactly that. He returned to the cockpit, placing his hand on the console. The orb pulsed softly, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. He smiled. Tomorrow he would follow the coordinates the ship had highlighted, entering uncharted space. He didn't know what awaited him: ancient ruins, unknown civilizations, or strange cosmic phenomena. But he was ready. Humans had a way of turning curiosity into achievement, and Captain Rylan was about to prove it once again. The ship vibrated gently beneath him, a quiet acknowledgement of trust and partnership. Together they would explore the unknown, unlock secrets long hidden, and show the galaxy that human ingenuity and determination were forces to be reckoned with. And for the first time, Rylan truly understood the full power of the vessel he had rescued. It was extraordinary. It was intelligent. It was alive. And it had chosen him. The adventure was far from over. The stars stretched endlessly before Captain Rylan as the derelict ship glided silently through uncharted space. For days he had followed the coordinates revealed by the ship's hidden orb, navigating through asteroid belts, nebulae, and gravity anomalies that would have challenged even the most advanced alien vessels. Yet every obstacle, every challenge, the ship handled with grace. And Rylan had guided it with human intuition, adjusting, improvising, thinking one step ahead. "This is it," he said aloud, staring at the holographic map hovering in front of him. The coordinates pointed to a remote star system, far from trade routes, far from inhabited space. The planets were strange, colored in shades he had never seen, and one small moon pulsed faintly with an unnatural glow. The ship vibrated gently beneath him, almost excited. It had led him here for a reason. Rylan felt it in his chest the same way humans felt curiosity when facing the unknown. As he approached the system, his sensors detected remnants of an ancient civilization. Massive structures floated in orbit around a dead planet. Towers, platforms, and energy conduits, all long abandoned but still partially functional. Some of the structures emitted faint signals, rhythmic and deliberate, as if calling for someone to arrive. Rylan's pulse quickened. "This must be the origin of the ship," he whispered. "Someone built you for a purpose." He guided the ship carefully, descending toward one of the orbital platforms. The ship's hull responded smoothly, shifting energy flows and adjusting shields to avoid disturbing the fragile ruins. As they landed, Rylan felt a connection not just with the vessel but with the civilization that had created it. Humans were explorers, and now he was touching the legacy of a species long gone. The orb pulsed brightly, guiding him to a central chamber within the platform. Rylan stepped out of the cockpit, his boots echoing on the metallic floor. The room was massive, filled with floating holographic displays, symbols, and energy conduits that defied explanation. At the center floated another orb, larger than the one in the ship, radiating a soft golden light. He approached cautiously. The moment he touched the orb, a flood of understanding hit him, not in words, but in knowledge and sensation. The ship's memories intertwined with the orb's, revealing the civilization's purpose. They had been builders, guardians of knowledge and technology. They had created the derelict ship as a protector, a vessel designed to assist, defend, and explore, but only under the command of someone capable of understanding and guiding it. Its abilities were meant to be used wisely, and until Rylan, no one had proven worthy. The realization filled him with awe. "They made you for this," he said softly, placing a hand on the ship's console as it hummed beside him. "And they chose a human to find you," the orb responded, sending a wave of energy through the room. Lights pulsed across the platform, activating dormant systems. Holographic maps appeared, showing other star systems, energy flows, and locations of hidden knowledge. The ship responded, linking with the ancient technology, sharing its own power and intelligence with Rylan. Together they were stronger, capable of feats that no alien or machine alone could achieve. Rylan spent hours exploring the ruins, guided by the ship's subtle vibrations and the orb's glow. He found energy cores that could stabilize dying stars, navigation maps leading to hidden corners of the galaxy, and data archives containing knowledge lost for centuries. The more he explored, the more he realized the scale of what he had discovered. And then came the final test. A massive energy conduit hummed to life, a protective system designed to assess the worthiness of the ship's pilot. Rylan understood immediately this was not a weapon to destroy. It was a trial, a challenge of intellect, creativity, and courage. He guided the ship into the conduit, following the shifting patterns of energy that formed a labyrinth. Every turn required thought, every adjustment required ingenuity. Humans excelled at improvisation, and Rylan's mind raced, finding solutions where others might have failed. The ship responded instantly to his commands, its intelligence complementing his own. Together, they moved as one. At the heart of the conduit, the orb's glow intensified. A final puzzle presented itself, a sequence of energy flows that needed alignment. Rylan analyzed the patterns, relying on intuition as much as logic. His fingers traced the panels, his mind anticipating each movement. Slowly, deliberately, he completed the alignment. The room pulsed with golden light, the energy stabilizing around them. The ship vibrated in approval, the orb radiating warmth and recognition. Rylan had passed the test. The ancient civilization's judgment was clear. He was worthy. He smiled, a mix of relief and exhilaration. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, often seen as fragile or reckless. Yet here he was, unlocking the potential of an ancient guardian vessel, navigating unknown dangers, and solving puzzles no one else could. Human creativity, courage, and intuition had triumphed where machines and aliens had failed. The ship's systems expanded, now fully operational. Its shields could manipulate gravitational fields, its engines could bend space for instantaneous travel, and its energy cores could stabilize entire star systems. The vessel was no longer abandoned. It was alive, aware, and now fully united with a human pilot who had proven himself worthy. Rylan realized something profound. Humans didn't just survive, they thrived. Their ingenuity allowed them to see opportunity where others saw ruin, to solve problems no one else could, and to awaken possibilities long forgotten. And now, he was the living proof. With the ship fully awakened, Rylan charted a course for the outer reaches of the galaxy. There were countless mysteries to explore, systems to stabilize, and knowledge to uncover. The ship responded eagerly, its energy flowing in harmony with his commands. They were partners, explorers, and guardians, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they left the abandoned system behind, the galaxy stretched endlessly before them. Rylan looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. The derelict ship that everyone else had walked away from had chosen him, revealing its secrets and its power. And together they would prove that human ingenuity was a force capable of awakening the impossible. The adventure was no longer just about discovery. It was about legacy, partnership, and the boundless potential of a species that refused to give up. The galaxy would take notice, whether it was ready or not. Rylan sat in the cockpit, hands resting lightly on the controls. The ship hummed beneath him, alive, aware, and ready for the next challenge. The stars stretched endlessly, filled with unknown wonders. And for the first time he understood that humans were more than survivors. They were creators, explorers, and pioneers capable of extraordinary feats. Together they accelerated into the unknown, leaving the abandoned system behind. The ship, once ignored and dismissed, now shone as a beacon of possibility. And Captain Rylan, human through and through, led the way, proving to the galaxy that curiosity, courage, and ingenuity could awaken even the most impossible of marvels. And so, the journey continued. Not as a man with a machine, but as a human with a partner that shared his vision, his intelligence, and his heart. Together they would explore, discover, and protect the galaxy. The derelict vessel was no longer lost. It had found its pilot. And in finding him, it had found purpose again. The stars beckoned, and humans, curious, daring, unyielding, would answer.